Hey everybody, it's Pete from ASH, and today I'm joined by my buddy
Todd from the Hendricks County Community Connect.
And it is the day you've all been waiting for.
Yes.
Since like February 22nd when we first announced this idea that we are going to be collaborating on some print and digital engagement, and we're going to be letting you know the results, which here we have with us the magical envelope filled with data. So let's pull it out and see what we got. All right, let's take a look. So we've got two pieces of paper here. And we're going to start off with the top page, which is actually the results, where we look at some data across distribution of Connect and how that turned into traffic on our website. Should we jump in? Do you want to jump
Let's
in?
do
What
it.
do you want
Sure,
to do?
I'll read this
Go ahead.
out. First of all, this is the data that we sent over. This is our circulation, which is 38,721 homes. And they're in Avon, Brownsburg, Danville, and Plainfield. As a publisher and as a representative of the Hendricks County Community Connect, what I do is I get out into the community and I'm constantly getting feedback. I want to know how people's ads are doing. I want to know what they're seeing in there. I want to know what they're not seeing in there. And then we use that as information to help make our paper better each time. I have asked around, of course, as usual, and information specifically to ASH Interactive has not been something that has come my way at this point yet, but we have had people say the QR code scanning tutorial that we did was a hit. We had people come in and say, hey, I learned how to use a QR code. So ASH Interactive data, why don't you take that?
Sure. So what we did was we went into the back end of our Squarespace website, and we were able to go in and actually see all of the clicks, all of the traffic, everything that had to do with where the QR code in the ad directed people. So just a little fun fact, when you're creating an ad, it's a great idea to create what's called a landing page. It's where we create a hidden website that pairs up to that QR code. So that way you know for sure that the only people that are landing on that page are the people that scan the QR code. Perfect. So that's what we did. So we created that and we found out that we had 20 visits, meaning 20 people scanned that QR code. We had an average of 49 seconds per visit, 82% bounce rate, which if you don't know what bounce rate is, it just means that somebody goes to a website, a landing page, and then they close out of it. So you really want your bounce rate to be nice and low because it means that where they're landing is encouraging them to look around and to click and to explore and to contact us and all that stuff. And another fun fact about the ad and the QR scans was that all the traffic and interaction happened on that page within the first 5 days, at least for this ad, so between the 6th and the 11th. And then as far as any anecdotal info we had, we didn't really have any about the paper so much as we did on the digital, but that's just where we live, is again the digital space. So if we boil all that down, the number of households that got the paper, the number of engagement that we had, that brings us to 52 thousandths of a percent of engagement, which was 20 QR scans out of 38,721 pieces. So what's your knee-jerk reaction?
Yeah, so obviously, you know, when you look at that, you're like, whoa, wow, that's not a really high number, and that's okay, and that's part of the reason why we've created this model the way we did. One thing I always have to tell all my advertisers is give yourself a time frame, right? So your first time that you throw an ad out there, it's not something a lot of people are used to seeing, right? So this is ASH Interactive's first appearance in the paper. And so one thing that we do know about advertising is familiarity. When people see your logo, your name multiple times, it has a multiplication effect in there moving forward.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, all marketing requires a little bit of time to get going, whether it's digital or it's print. So, you know, you expect and hope and plan and strategize for those numbers to grow. How do you get people's attention in a paper full of color and text or on an internet full of everything.
Right.
All kinds of distractions. So that's good.
Just a learning lesson that we wanted to talk to, which we alluded to in the last video, which is a call to action. Super important in print advertising is that, one, besides just the call to action, that people know what you do, okay? So that's something when you're creating an ad you want to think about. Do people understand from this advertisement what you do, how you're going to help them? And then the second thing is, which I think we should talk about today, is the call to action, which says, hi, we would like you to do this.
Sure, and we did, so this ad was intentionally had no call to action. It had our company's name, it had some little icons, it showed a video camera and a computer, and it had a bit of text that said we're proudly serving nonprofits and small businesses and marketing. So it was pretty bland and not very targeted. And we're probably going to push this exact same ad out later in this run just to see if it has any change on anything. So we really wanted a baseline, generic ad. So I think it's a good idea to shoot like very middle of the road, middle low, just to get that low engagement and then see if these other strategies will work moving forward. So,
and if you're a business who's in any type of advertising, ask yourself that question. Look at your ad and say, am I asking someone to do any action, whether it's purchase something, visit you, or read information, any of that, is your ad doing that? And that will help.
But like, what other lessons in general can people take from this about print, when they're putting together an ad?
Yeah, so I think really the important lessons are, one, I would say when you look at traditional advertising, simplicity does not mean that it's ineffective, right? So I think you can create a very simple ad, but making sure that you focus on certain elements to make that ad successful. One of them, like I mentioned, is the call to action. The other one is describing what your company does. And then the next lesson is when you are advertising, don't think that, hey, I'm just going to try to do it all in one big advertisement. I always tell people this, you can use the trickle effect, okay? So you start to leave breadcrumbs, basically, that will lead people to where you want them to go over time, right? So if you've got 6 months that you're going to be creating an advertising campaign, that's going to be tremendously more successful than putting all your eggs into one basket, doing one giant ad, and then calling it quits. So that's a great lesson I think that we can learn and that we'll be able to see played out over the next 10 months.
But I think the bigger point there, to Todd's earlier point, is not only do you need to have a nice lead time on things and expect things to take a little while to work, but also you should be exploring multiple platforms at once. So the numbers and the data and information that we got digitally from those 3 posts is super valuable information, totally different from what we got out of the paper and the ad that we ran in there and just kind of the stories we heard from talking to people. So multifaceted approach is the way to get any messaging, any brand, any offer, anything you want a consumer or your community to do is to leverage digital and print together. So looking ahead to the next ad, I hope you'll all pay attention. If you're watching this, you should be paying attention because our team is going to start experimenting with some kitschy ads. So stuff that's going to catch you off guard, stuff that's going to make you probably laugh or smile, or really drive you to want to scan a QR code or visit our website or give us a call. So stay tuned for some of those things. Okay, cool. So that's it for ad 1. Stay tuned for ad 2. The next date, do you know?
Yes, I do. It's April 3rd.
April 3rd. Okay, so stay tuned to your mailboxes. If you're in Hendricks County, April 3rd will be the next ad that we have on Business Connect. And I think you're going to like this one. It's going to be kind of weird.
I'm excited.
Why not?
I don't even know what it's going to look like, so it's going to be a surprise to me until he puts it in for perfect. Then I'll know. But right now, I don't.
All right. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.